Hi, everyone. Welcome to our very first Heads of X, Heads of Engineering conference. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Anna, and we are Epic Events, the organizer of today's event. Epic Events produces premier events at the nexus of technology, startups, and investors. Our mission at Epic Events is to ignite ideas and expose technologies that will underpin future society. Heads of X is our new global technology conference series, bringing top minds and highly sought after industry leaders across a wide array of subject matter expertise. We kicked off with our Heads of Product 2 weeks ago, and other events in our series include Heads of Design, Data Science, Digital Marketing, Sales, Operations, and People. Today is our Heads of Engineering, the most exciting engineering conference to bring together top engineering practitioners who will condense their most impactful insights into bite-sized keynote presentations and 2 panels. Our schedule is broken down into 3 segments at 9, 10:45, and 12:30 p.m., and an exclusive VIP networking session at 2:15 p.m. Let's welcome Vidal Guapera from LinkedIn. He is the engineering manager. I will bring him back on.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hi.
Hey, okay, so let me, let me share my screen and I'll get started. Here we go. And can you guys see that okay?
It is right now, yes. Great.
Okay, all right, so thanks for taking the time today to come to my presentation on time management tips for engineering managers. This is a huge topic, and I'm not gonna be able to do it justice in 10 to 12 minutes. So I'm just gonna give you an excerpt of a much longer talk that I've given before, just some of the high points of it. Again, my name is Vidal Guapera. I'm an engineering manager at LinkedIn. And I'm on a mission to help engineering managers everywhere be better and more productive. I'm totally a productivity geek. I just love kind of like tips and tricks and life hacks on how to do things better and faster. So I'm very passionate about this topic. I think it's very important for engineering managers because, you know, engineering managers have so much to do, right? Like who's not always like, you know, buried in a sea of emails and tons of meetings and overwhelmed. And as you have to, you know, scale your efforts as maybe your team grows and your responsibility grows, you just can't just brute force more and more hours. You have to find a way to be more effective with the time you have. I'll say that this also can be especially overwhelming, especially for new managers, people who are not used to it. And so maybe some of this will be helpful for you. I run a side project at a website called managersclub.com. It is a blog and a podcast, and I interview people there. Josie, I recently interviewed her earlier this year. And one of the questions I ask every engineering manager there is, what's your workday like and how do you manage your time, emails, calendar, et cetera? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, like what a great question. Let me tell you. So I'm gonna share with you some of the stuff I've learned and talking to people there. And many of these items may also apply to ICs. Where they don't, I'll try to make it clear how they apply just to managers. I'll just touch first on a couple key concepts I think it's good to be aware of. First of all, you just have to admit you're not going to get everything done. Your job is to, you know, obviously you have a lot of plates, you have a lot of plates spinning, but you're just not going to get everything done. So you shouldn't get stressed out about that. One article, if you have not read it, that so many people have cited to me it's called The Manager's Schedule versus the Maker's Schedule by Paul Graham. And this is a very, very good article that discusses how, you know, when you were an IC, you needed like lots of blocks of focus time. And that's very important to maintain that for your ICs. But managers operate in a different space where their time is much more broken up. There's a lot more context switching. And so if you're clear on this distinction, it'll help you a lot in how you approach this. I'll say a couple more concepts here. As a manager, what's interesting too, it's not even, well, it is about how you manage your time, but you also need to be conscious of how you manage others people's time. Because as an engineering manager, if you apply good time management techniques to yourself and your team, you can be a force multiplier, or you can actually waste a ton of people's time would say like ineffective meetings. So be conscious of how you can also affect other people's time. And then a lot of you may have heard of Parkinson's Law. So Parkinson's Law basically states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. So engineering leaders understand this because, you know, we try to put time boxes and deadlines on stuff on work to, you know, to get projects out the door. But oftentimes people won't apply it to themselves. So if you time box your own work, say you're working on a report or some document, it can really help you to be focused and get stuff done and not be perfectionist and let your own work drag out forever. Oops, sorry. I want to talk about emails. Like the number one thing, like who's not drowning in totally a sea of emails or Slack messages or whatever, who's an engineering leader. So one of the things that was recommended by so many people I interviewed is to follow Inbox Zero. And this is something that I picked up after talking to a lot of leaders. I can say it's made a huge difference in my life. So basically Inbox Zero, if you're not aware of it, it was introduced in 2007 in a talk by Merlin Mann's, a Google Tech Talk. You can watch the video. But the summary of it is to, not to leave your email client open, process your emails periodically during the day, delete and archive as many new messages as possible, forward what can be best answered by someone else, try to immediately respond to any new messages that can be answered in 2 minutes or less, keeping in mind like the 80-20 rule. And this can be very helpful. So I really try to follow this myself. I'll give a couple other tips on email, like, as an engineering leader, again, going to this point of, multiplying other people's time and not dragging them down. One of the things I also look for is, can I unblock anyone on my team or another team? Sometimes an email that comes to me, if I can even give a quick imperfect answer, can unblock a whole bunch of people, or if I sit on it, can have the opposite effect. So my first priority is, can I unblock anyone? Okay. Then I'll look at, can I delegate it, reply to it quickly using the 80-20 rule. What I really don't want to do is try to go through my email box like in n squared time. Some people will go through their email over and over and over again, and that's not good. Also, keeping your email inbox is like a to-do list. Some people do that. I find that's not good because it causes you to kind of go over and over. So if you can just touch the email once, that's the best. And turn off all email alerts. That's going to be very distracting to you. Block time to go over your communications a couple times a day. I think this is the most effective thing that you can do. I'll add a couple more tips with email. I think another thing which I find super useful is filters and rules. So these are some common rules that I use and other people use, which I'll recommend. If you haven't set these up, you should. I have a filter for emails addressed only to me, or where someone names me, like @Vidal, like I need your help on this. So because if it's addressed just to me or I'm mentioned specifically, I'm the only one that's going to be able to answer that question. So I want to be alerted to that. Obviously, I have a filter for any messages that come from my manager or my manager's manager. Those are obviously super important. Emails from my team or peers, that gets special treatment because often I can be like unblocking them. Anything with action required, invite to edit or comment, I look at those. And then a little bit lower, well, not lower down, but different treatment for things like alerts, outages, code reviews, and a lot of automated emails and newsletters. I'll just like file those away. If you're totally swamped with email and you're like, I don't even know how to get started with this, one tip I give you, you could just declare email bankruptcy. You'll find if anything was like super important, people will email you again about it and follow up with you. So you could just declare email bankruptcy, start over, and then just try to keep to inbox zero. I'll try to touch quickly on calendar. I'll just say that, calendar is a tool. It's not your enemy. Some people think the calendar can be your enemy because at lots of companies, calendars are open, and they're open for abuse. So people can just add stuff to your calendar and take up all your day. So I think what you should do is what I would recommend, scan your calendar every day. What meeting is going to skip? Can I cancel? I also try to defrag my calendar. A lot of people do this, which can be very helpful. So put one-on-ones together, for example. I like to group them, or have themes by day. Maybe I do all my one-on-ones on Mondays and Tuesdays, and another day I work on a different project. So by grouping things together and defragging them, you can avoid context switching, and I think you can be more productive. I would also advise to do some defensive calendaring. Avoid the temptation to overschedule your day, because there's always going to be some unexpected crisis or something that can come up, or some need that you need to respond to. So if you've totally booked your entire day solid, then you're kind of bricked, you know, like you don't have any capacity to respond. So I'll actually put on my calendar some do not schedule blocks to kind of block out time that then I can repurpose to do any kind of work I need, or repurpose for that, you know, unexpected, unplanned thing that comes up today. I'll touch quickly on tasks and to-dos. I think a lot of people do, which I think is very effective, is to keep a short to-do list of what you want to focus on that day. If you just list 1 or 2 things you want to get done that day, that's often enough, and just pick the most important things. I'll say I'm not a big fan of bigger to-do list apps. So there's a lot of to-do list apps that people recommend to me, but I think they can become very overwhelming quickly. So what I prefer to do is 2 other things, is create checklists. I think checklists are very important. And I'll give you a personal tip. Like, I prefer, rather than having a to-do list, a personal Kanban board. So here's just like a quick shot of my personal Kanban board, and just some things I'll call out. If you don't know about Kanban, I recommend you read about it. But what's nice about this, what I really like about it, is rather than a singular to-do list, I have multiple columns. So I can have a column like my backlog. These are my options, things that I could consider doing. What I'm going to work on today, what I have currently in progress. I love this column I have of things that I'm waiting on. So if there's something I need to do, and now I need a response from someone, an approval, I can just put it in the waiting column. And then rather than setting like, you know, alerts to remind me to follow up on stuff, then I can just quickly scan down my waiting column every day or every other day and see like, hey, am I still waiting on this? I'm still waiting on that. What's the status? So it's a very nice way to keep on top of that. And then a column of stuff that's done, which is really great. So you can just kind of see like, what did I get done today? Just gives you a nice sense of achievement. So I really like using a personal Kanban board. I think that's like the best thing. Since we're almost out of time, I'll just recommend a couple books that I think are very useful on time management. I'd recommend some of these classics like Getting Things Done by David Allen is really good. When, The Secret to Perfect Timing. The Checklist Manifesto, I really believe in checklists. Personal Kanban, I think, is really great. And then a couple other books on, like for example, The Surprising Science of Meetings, which is really good. With that, I just want to say I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for coming. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me here on Twitter. This is my email address at LinkedIn where I work. You can reach out to me. I also have a LinkedIn group I've created for engineering leaders, a Managers Club LinkedIn group. Look for that. And if you want to find a copy of this deck and a longer version of this deck, I gave this talk. Again, this is kind of an excerpt. I have like a 45-minute version of this talk. You can find that at manegersclub.com/talks. So
yeah. So are there any questions?
Yes.
We see a comment, but let's see. Nope. Sometimes the questions are delayed and.
Okay.
All right. Well, meanwhile, I will be adding our next speaker onto the panel. Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much, Vidal.
You're welcome. Reach out to me if anyone wants to talk more about the topic. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and actually, can you share your link, your LinkedIn group in the chat?
Yeah, I'll do it right now. I will do.
Awesome.
Perfect.